afternoon and welcome to Trojan Vision One-on-One. I'm your host, Stephanie East. And with Trojan Vision One-on-One, we go in depth with the people who make the Troy family special. And joining us today is Dr. Michael Thrasher, the Dean of the College of Communication and Fine Arts here at Troy University. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Dr. East. It's a pleasure to be with you here today.
Well, we're so excited to talk to you and learn more about your background. So we know you've been at Troy for a few years now, but tell us about your life and your academic background prior to coming to Troy.
Well, sure. Well, at this juncture, I've been in higher education, it seems like most of my adult life. I was one of those people who went to college, and I enjoyed my experience so much. I found the university world to be so invigorating and exciting and interesting that I really wanted to stay. And I decided very early on that higher education was where I wanted to make my career. So after college, I went straight into graduate school, straight through a master's program, straight through a doctoral program. I graduated very young at 25 with a doctoral degree, and then shortly thereafter began teaching, first at a community college and then through various universities in other parts of the country. So as I reflect back on things, I've been in higher ed in some form or fashion for 34 years now, which is just astounding to me. And it's changed a lot, but it's also still that exciting, interesting, invigorating place it was all those years ago, and that's why I enjoy what I get to do.
And you also have a musical background, so tell us a little bit about your musical background as well.
Well, I started in music the way a lot of young people started music, through public schools and being in the local school music program and the band program. And I began as a clarinetist and really enjoyed that, went into music education in undergraduate school, and I still was undecided what direction I would take, whether I wanted to be a school music teacher. I had an aspiration to be a conductor, an orchestra conductor, but I really found that playing the clarinet was something that brought great joy to me, so I decided to focus primarily on that and went to graduate school in that and started out my higher education career as a clarinet professor, doing that, but also teaching other things as well. And it's still a fundamental part of who I am. I think, being a musician is not a job or a career, it really is a way of life.
I'm always in awe of anybody who has any musical talent because I have zero, so I am always in awe of musicians. Sure. And so what made coming to Troy an appealing place for you?
Well, sure. Well, after working as a faculty member for some number of years, I felt a bit of a calling to do administrative work, academic leadership, for a variety of reasons. One reason was that I had an academic administrator who took an interest in me and became a mentor to me and encouraged me in this direction, and that really helped me get a start. And then second, I think because I felt like I could do more. I could make a bigger impact, a more positive impact by taking on leadership roles. And so I moved into administration in 2009, first as an academic department head, a director of a school of performing arts, and I did that for 7 years. I moved from there into an associate dean's role, spent time as an interim dean, and then had the chance to come here to Troy as Dean of the College of Communication and Fine Arts 2.5 years ago. And it's been a wonderful experience. I get to work with great people like you and other faculty members. We have over 80 full-time faculty in CCFA, around 1,000 students. It's a great community of people. And so serving them and being part of that community is very rewarding.
So for those of us who may not know what a dean does, of course we know you're the head of our college, but what is a day like in the life of the dean of CCFA?
Well, I find that a lot of my work is listening, it's being available, there are a lot of meetings to be sure, but good meetings where you're able to go out and learn what people are doing. And I've always thought that my role as an administrator, as an academic leader, is to help provide tools and resources to help people be successful. It's much like being a teacher in many ways, in which my success really is defined by other people's success. And if other people are being successful, if they're teaching great classes, if they're developing programs, if they're mentoring students, if students are graduating and moving into productive lives, then I know I'm being successful. And a lot of my work is behind the scenes, as I really think it should be. I heard a comment just the other day on that fact that good leaders really oftentimes need to be felt more than heard or seen. That if we're doing our job well, we can be in the background, and we provide the support and the mentorship and the encouragement to help other people. And that's what I find to be the most rewarding part of the work that I get to do.
Good philosophy to have. And you mentioned you've been here 2.5 years, but you've already been recognized with one of the biggest awards here at Troy, the Algernon Sidney Sullivan Award, which recognizes those who, quote, act as humble servants, placing service to others before self-interest. So what did that mean to you to win that so early in your tenure?
Well, it was very humbling, I'll say that, to be sure. Unexpected and a surprise, because I would expect that to go to someone who had been here for a longer period of time, maybe 8 or 10 years. And so to be recognized in that way after only 2 years was indeed humbling and heartwarming and affirming. And of course it made me feel good, but in the sense that I feel like I'm able to make a difference for other people. And that's really what the job is all about, making a positive difference, making an impact on people's lives. So I was very appreciative of that recognition.
Well, you mentioned that you get to work with a lot of different people, a lot of different departments as the Dean of CCFA. We have literature, theater, art, journalism, dance, world languages. So many things are encompassed in CCFA. So tell us why these types of programs in the humanities are so important to a student's education.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't do this work if I didn't believe in the value and the merit and the importance of education in general and of the disciplines that we teach right here in CCFA. I've always felt that these disciplines, the arts, the humanities, teach skills that are so important for life. Skills like creative thinking, skills like problem solving, skills like communication, skills like adaptability and flexibility. And it's my heartfelt belief that those kinds of skills go with someone throughout their life. Whatever occupation they may pursue, whatever job they may have, those skills will serve them well. And we live in a world where people often change, not just jobs, but entire occupations, entire fields in which they work, maybe multiple times throughout their lives. So having those skills, communication and so forth, I think will give them the best chance to be successful and to have fulfilling lives. I also believe these fields are important just for a healthy, sustainable society. People who are critical thinkers, who don't just take things at face value, but ask good, thoughtful, hard questions, who can view problems from different perspectives and come up with their own solutions. And I think those things are essential for a strong society.
Well, one thing that I've been excited to ask you about is you recently returned from Germany as part of the Fulbright International Education Administrator Program. First of all, tell us about the program, and then we'll delve a little bit deeper into your trip to Germany.
Sure. Well, the Fulbright program goes back many years. It goes back to the post-World War II era. It was sponsored by a senator from Arkansas, Senator Fulbright, who believed in the idea of cultural exchange and who believed in what we might call citizen diplomacy, that we gain when our citizens go to other countries, learn, and make friendships in these other countries, where we exchange ideas and perspectives, and that draws us closer together. It was a very aspirational view of looking at a post-World War II world in which there is increased understanding and empathy among people of different nations and different cultures. So the Fulbright program is a broad, diverse program. It sponsors about 8,000 grants and fellowships a year. It sends students and academics, faculty members from the U.S., to other countries and brings people from other countries to the U.S. It's an exchange program. So the specific program that I was in was designed for administrators at American universities to go spend 2 weeks in Germany, primarily to learn about their system of higher education, how it functions, how it works, how it's structured, how it's funded, how decisions are made, how the nation as a whole views higher education, what the current issues are, what the future issues may be. And we brought our American perspective. We met with German colleagues there, shared information and ideas, and it was incredibly enriching, eye-opening, and really informative for me.
Well, so tell us about some of the differences. Tell me what you learned and what you were able to bring to the officials over there as well.
Well, obviously in Germany you have a system that's much, much, much older than the American system. One university that I visited was founded in 1456,
wow,
which is almost 200 years older than the oldest American university. So there's a much longer tradition, much longer history there than we have here. It's also a place that influenced early American higher education as well. So it's almost like visiting your ancestors in some ways to see what the similarities are. Some of the most noticeable differences, I would say, would be the funding system. Students in Germany essentially go to college tuition free. There are no tuition expenses. And that obviously is a big...
Yeah, that's nice.
That's a big contrast. The cost of going to school really is just the cost of living while you're in school. And even there's even financial aid that helps fund apartment rent and things like that for students while they're in school. So I'd say it's much more accessible in that regard. But there are also a lot of similarities. I mean, we talked about things like student mental health and well-being, which we're certainly very concerned about here in the U.S., and the same issues are happening there in Germany. We talk about changing enrollment demographics, and the same things are happening there in Germany. So I guess I would sum it up by saying there are some really striking differences between the two systems, but there's also a lot of deep similarities as well. And great teaching, research, and service is at the heart of what they do, just like it's at the heart of what we do here.
And did you see that they had a strong department in, say, things like art and music, like we do here at Troy, some of the colleges you visited?
Oh yes, very much. There are a number of institutions that are specialized in those fields, but there are other institutions that focus more just on business or economics or law or things of that nature. Basically, there are two categories of institutions. There are universities, which are what we think of as the traditional research institutions that grant the majority of the doctoral degrees and so forth. And they have universities of applied sciences, which generally are master's degree institutions and that focus more on what we might think of as vocational training, business accounting, things of that nature, and focus a lot on internships and vocational placement. And each are equally valued. Each are well respected. Each type of institution has a very important role to play in the system. There's not like one is better than the other. It's just, what do you want? What do you want to pursue? And I found that to be quite beautiful in many ways.
Well, I know you went as part of a learning process, but hopefully you had time to enjoy yourself and do some touristy things too. Tell us a little bit about what you did over there for fun.
Well, so, I said once you're a musician, you're always a musician. It's a way of life. So for me, being in Germany, the home of so much great music and so much of music history, I had to do some things that were on my bucket list. So some things that I did included attending 2 concerts of the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra, which in my opinion is at the very top of the list of greatest orchestras in the world, and heard some fabulous, fabulous music making while I was there. I also was able to take a quick day trip out to Leipzig, which is a couple hours by train from Berlin. And Leipzig is famous for being the home of many musicians, not the least of which was Johann Sebastian Bach.
Wow.
And so I got to visit the St. Thomas Church, which is where Bach was the music director in the early 1700s, early middle 1700s, where he is buried, and hear one of his cantatas performed right there in that church, which for me was something that was just a wonderful experience.
That's amazing. Now, one thing you did mention was the wellness of students, and that is something that we talk about a lot, and I talk about with my students, both physically and their mental health as well. And I know that is something that you are very passionate about. So what makes this such an important issue for you?
The issue of health and wellness is something that I really got involved in 25 years ago, really, as I was just kind of finishing up graduate school and getting started in my own academic career. I became involved with the group researching, first of all, health issues related to musicians. And back in those days, we were focusing a lot on issues like hearing loss that musicians might have from being exposed to loud volumes, things like repetitive use injury that can happen when you do repetitive physical motions over and over again for hours a day. And I was involved in some research studies, some publications in that field, and that's really kind of followed me throughout my career. As things have progressed, I've continued to work in that field with musicians, but also gained a broader interest in these issues as relate to other performing artists, and really university students and university communities in general. I think one of the big changes in the last 10, 12 years in higher education has been this rise of mental health and our concern of mental health for students, for faculty, and for staff. We didn't talk about that so much 25 years ago, but it's very much front and center even before the COVID pandemic, and since then it's just gotten much worse. And there are many complex causes and contributing factors. But nonetheless, we know it's a very serious issue. We know that a lot of students drop out of school because of mental health issues, because of anxiety and depression and so forth. And I'm very interested, and I think it's an ethical and really a moral imperative for us in higher ed to do what we can do to promote a culture and an environment of health and well-being. Higher ed has great capacity to influence society for good. And if we can instill the values of health and well-being for people in that age bracket, we can really make a difference, I think, for the future of our country.
And one thing that you have done is started a committee to study that for our college and CCFA. And what do you hope comes out of this committee?
Yeah, so one of the projects that I'm currently working on is this issue of being a health promoting university. And it's a broad conversation. It's not just here at Troy, it's really worldwide. Schools talking about this. What does it mean to be a health promoting university? And one organization has put out a charge to that end, challenging schools to infuse health into everything that we do, not just our curricular programs, but our policies, our procedures, our culture, just the way we think, the way we operate. What can we do to create health promotion? And so that's what I've kind of challenged our group with, and I just put out an invitation to people in the college who would be interested in talking about this and coming up with ideas. And Stephanie, I was amazed by the number of people, 16, 17 people came and said, yeah, I want to talk about that, which is very affirming for me. And we've had a couple of meetings already, and I've challenged them to come up with some real, actionable steps that we can take, even if they're small steps, things that we can do to infuse health, to create an awareness of well-being, to begin to put that imprint on our culture. And I'm really excited about what they may come up with, and I'm really excited about what impact it could have on people, and not just students. I mean, certainly they're at the forefront, but our faculty members and our staff and the community, because we bring a lot of folks from outside the university who come here to attend events. We want to be responsive to that for everyone.
Well, let's go back to you talking about your passion for higher education. For our students here at CCFA, what do you hope they get out of their education from both our department and from Troy University?
Well, I've always believed, as long as I've been doing this, in the value of education. The ability that it has to help people to realize their full potential. I believe in public education, that education should be accessible, that it shouldn't just be the realm of a few privileged elite, but anyone who has the desire and who has the work ethic and the interest to pursue education, I want them to have that opportunity. And I think it's a great privilege to be able to invest in people in that way. So what do I hope that they'll take from their experience? Well, certainly great memories, but more than that, the things I was talking about earlier, that ability to engage in critical thinking, that ability to be aware, to be able to think in new ways, creatively, to solve problems, to be leaders, whether it be in their jobs, in their homes, their families, their communities, their places of religious observation, the nation, the world. We want them to be able to go out, and really what it all boils down to is make a positive impact. I think that's what matters. That's what's lasting. When we can make a positive difference in people's lives, then we've done something meaningful.
That's great. One more question, and just looking ahead into the future, what do you see as the future for CCFA here at Troy University?
Well, I certainly believe in the college, and I certainly believe in what we're doing, and I believe in the work of faculty, and I believe in what our students are doing as well. So, when I talk about a vision for the future, this doesn't always sound maybe quite so snazzy and eye-grabbing, but what I would say is my aspiration is that we be excellent in all that we do. A lot of things have changed in higher ed in 35 years, but one thing that hasn't changed is we focus on teaching, research, and service. Teaching of the highest quality that mentors students, that helps them realize their full potential. Research, creative activity, scholarship that makes a difference. I heard from a colleague in Germany a slogan they had, which I thought was beautiful, and I hope we can use it. I got their permission to use it. That we believe in research excellence for societal impact.
It is a great slogan.
Beautiful. It's a fantastic slogan. We've got to use that. So that, and then finally service. Service to certainly our institution, but also service to our community, service to the state, the nation, the world, our professions. We believe in that. So those are the things that I want to focus on, being the best version of ourselves in all of those fields.
Thank you so much, Dean Michael Thrasher, for being here with us today, the Dean of the Communication of College and Fine Arts here at Troy University. And that's it for Trojan Vision One-on-One. We'll see you next time.